Hey everybody, this is Renee from The Space Between, and you are listening to The Space Between podcast, the show that lets you listen to how the fans feel about the music, the art behind over 30 years of the Dave Matthews Band. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans behind the Dave Matthews Band. This is a special episode, so if this is your very first episode, just know that this is a special one, and here's why. This episode that you're listening to or watching, because I have a YouTube channel, the Space Between podcast, if you are listening or watching this particular episode, you are watching or listening to episode 99. Even saying that is so weird. I started this podcast in November of 2022. And if this is your first podcast to listen to for the Space Between, just know that I have explained the whys many times. So I encourage you to dig into the past to see why it is that I created and am hosting the Space Between podcast. Why have I given this much time to a podcast about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band? Well, I'm glad you asked. So the fans of the Dave Matthews Band, well, let me rewind just a little bit. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. You need to dig into, 98 other episodes. And I'm okay if you don't, but here's a little bit of why I am doing this. So, of course, I've loved the Dave Matthews Band. I often say that the Dave Matthews Band is the soundtrack of my life. I can't remember a whole lot of time in my life without at least knowing about them. Of course, they started in 1991. At that time, I was 11. So was I listening to the Dave Matthews Band in 91? No, I wasn't. And neither were my parents. It was something that I found, like a lot of other people, in college. Of course, I was aware of them in high school, but at that time, I honestly was into just different kinds of music. Country being one of them. I feel like the 90s had some solid country music. I'm not a country music listener now at all. And so it's funny how our music likes and preferences change throughout the years, throughout the decades, throughout the phases of our life. But I can honestly say that the Dave Matthews Band has been a band that has stuck around just about longer than anything in my life other than like my mom and dad. It has outlasted a marriage of mine, and it lasted 18 years, so that's a long time. It has outlasted my span as a parent. I've only been a parent for almost 23 years now. It has outspanned that. This band, if you are not familiar with its music, is in 30 plus years. 30 plus years of not only making music, but also performing worldwide for its fans. I believe that, and this is just my opinion, but I believe that the band has never been better. They are so seasoned in their craft, and it is just my absolute pleasure to still be listening to them, still be watching them, still be chasing them, and now to be talking about them and what they have done to thousands of people all over the world. So that is kind of my backdrop. It really goes way further than that as far as like, why did I start this podcast? I'll have to admit, I'll admit it right now. This podcast I'm not going to get emotional. I keep saying that. I'm not going to get emotional. This podcast has been so beautiful. I came into the podcasting world at one of my most brokenness times. I was kind of broken. which is very hard for me to admit because I got a lot of things going right for me. I have an amazing husband who loves me, who supports me, who puts up with my bullshit. And I promise you, I can pass out some hard bullshit. I am not fun to listen to. I am not fun to live with. But he does it with such grace. And he has taught me so much about love. And he has taught me so much. So I hate to admit that I was in a low place in my life, but again, dig a little deeper into this podcast, and there are a couple of stories of why this podcast was created. But in some small ways, this podcast has really just been such I want to say it's saved me. I'm not for sure that is the right word. But I feel that in my bones that it's saved a part of me. I've always been a very artistic, creative person. And this has been such an outlet for me to not only learn new things, because I'm not a podcaster. I don't know anything about audio video. I am a nurse. I am a mom. I am a wife. Those are the things that I know and that I can speak about. I don't know anything about podcasting. So starting this podcast was definitely a hurdle, but I love to learn new things, especially things that interest me, right? That's usually how it works. We're good at learning things that we're interested in. And I really wanted to highlight this amazing story that I have, which is the story of the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. I often tell people I have a podcast. It is about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band, not specifically the Dave Matthews Band. Obviously, we talk a lot about the band because that is kind of, that is what ties us all together. But my story is this podcast is about shining a light on some beautiful, beautiful things that are happening in this world when I think that we need a reminder that there are beautiful things still happening. I say this often in my shows that we wake up, we turn the TV on, we turn the radio on, and we are reminded almost immediately that there are horrible things happening in this world. There is so much pain and so much grief and so much hate. And it can be hard to even want to get out of bed some days with the constant reminder of all of the bad things that are happening. And while I can't change that, and while that will probably never change, I do want to be some small ray of hope and sunshine in anybody that listens to this podcast as a reminder that there are beautiful people in this world and there are beautiful things that are happening, and there is love and acceptance and inclusion that is still happening. It's funny how we tend to forget that music can be someone's everything. Music has such powers to so many people. And what it can do for you, it may not be able to do that to the next person, but that's the beauty, is it can do so many different things. It has filled gaps. It has filled holes. It has filled souls and eyes and ears and spirits. Every show has been proof of that. And again, if this is your first time listening to The Space Between, what my podcast is every week I have, or every episode, minus a few, I have a fan of the Dave Matthews Band come on the show, talk about their journey with this band. And everyone's journey is completely different. No one found this band in the exact same way because we're not the exact same people. We were exposed to it in different ways. We fell in love with it for different reasons. We've stayed hooked to it for different reasons. And that is a beautiful story. And each story has just been breathtaking and has filled my heart and has filled the hearts of so many listeners. And when I hear those stories of people that are listening to this podcast, I heard a lady tell me, actually, she told my husband this a week or two ago, that listening to this, helped save her in so many ways. And hearing that was a moment that I don't think I'll ever forget, because I started this podcast for that very reason. I needed something. I needed a way to, talk about what this band has done for me, but then for it to turn around and do the same thing for other people, I just really can't think of anything better. It's a podcast that's been born out of love and hope, because I knew there was more. And for other people to find those exact same things in something, it's just beautiful. And so I am so happy. I am so blessed. I am so thankful. I am so grateful that this podcast has made it to 99 episodes. And if you're listening to this now, just know that either in a few hours or tomorrow or maybe now, based on when you're listening to this, the 100th episode is being released on May 1st, which honestly is just a few hours away from now. I am so excited about the changes that I've been able to make for season 5. It has been a learning process. I can't say that enough. If you've listened to season 1, season 2, season 3, probably all the way, you can see a progression you can hear a progression in how far I feel like I've come, in learning how to interview people, in learning audio and video, in learning, how to do different things. There's definitely an element of marketing that has to go along with a podcast, because my podcast doesn't work unless listeners, people that love the Dave Matthews Band, come forward and say, hey, I'll share my journey. This podcast will stop should no one else come forward. But thankfully, there have been many, many people, and there is still a list full of people that are scheduled out to tell their journey. So thank you so much for supporting me, for listening to this episode. If there's one thing that I could ask you to do, and I try to never ask people to help me. That is a fault of mine. I don't like to ask for help, but I am going to learn to start doing that, because I know that it's important. If you could help me share this podcast, share it with a person that loves the Dave Matthews Band. They may not want to share their journey. I realize that not everyone is comfortable with recording their audio and video and putting that out for the world to listen to. But I believe that people can benefit just from listening to some of these stories. It's just unbelievable what this band has done to thousands of people. And if you've listened to one episode and it just wasn't the one for you, I completely understand that. Everyone's journey is not going to be the same. And I say that because that means that not every story is going to be one that you may want to listen to. Some of them are funny. Some of them are sad. Some of them are heartbreaking. Some of them are full of joy. And so, if you are looking for that in your life, you've landed in the right spot. You've just got to find the right episode. And I believe that the show now has so many different things that you can pull from it. But that's the one thing I need help with, is the continuation of making people aware about this podcast. And that's hard because, a lot of times people may see a podcast and automatically think, well, what is she trying to sell me? What is she trying to get from me? Honestly, nothing. That is what I need. I need nothing from anyone except for you to help share this. There are so many people that I know that would love to share their journey, because there have just been countless people that have been changed by this band, by music. And maybe it's even just some small happy things, funny things. I met the band and this happened. Or, I thought the lyrics were this when really they were this. There's just so many great stories when it comes to over 30 years of music. And that's what this is. This is a place to share your journey. And again, I say that not everyone has to have this band changed my life story. It can just be a funny story. We all look to hear those. We've all laughed with this band. I believe that, watching Dave alone, a lot of the times can just fill your heart with laughter because he's so amazing to watch. He's incredible. They are all incredible. I'm just so thankful to be doing this. So guys, this is episode 99. We're right at 16 minutes. I'm so excited that you have landed here. If you are listening to this and you're still listening to it 16 minutes in, just know that I cannot thank you enough for doing so. If you are watching this, thank you so much for doing so. You can help me by subscribing to this channel on YouTube. You can help me by liking this video, commenting on this video. If you are listening to this podcast, if you will follow this podcast so that you can get notifications on when new episodes are released, but also you can leave a review. I'd love it if you left a kind review. If you have nothing good to say about this podcast, I'd love for you to keep it that way. Just don't write a comment. Don't. Maybe call my voicemail and say, hey, here's some areas where I think you could improve. I'm always open to suggestions. And speaking of that, I'd love to know what you would like to see in this show. Again, this is, I'm trying to make this the story of the fans, a reflection of how the fans are feeling. So if you have tips or things you'd like to see in the upcoming seasons or episodes, definitely give me a call. If you're not familiar with the voicemail, you can definitely check it out on socials. If you're not following me on social media, I am available on just about anything. Facebook, it's under a group, The Space Between Podcast. Instagram, it is under The Space Between _, which is the line that lays down, POD. And then available on TikTok. It's just under The Space Between Podcast. If none of social media is something that you are part of, that's okay. You can email me just by emailing kissonthelippsmire@gmail.com. That's right. You heard me right. That was my wedding hashtag. And you know what? It's just so darn clever. And also it's easy to remember. My last name is Lipsmeyer, LIPSMEYER. And so they just added on kiss on the lipsmire@gmail.com. You can email me any kind of suggestions, tips, reviews, things like that. I will definitely appreciate it. So that's how you can help me out, simply by sharing this podcast with a friend so that we can continue, so that I can continue to make more episodes and share the love that is behind this band. So guys, get ready, buckle up. Episode 100 is next, and I have some fun things. We're doing some great things in season 5. I have implemented trivia. I've implemented our Google voicemail, which fans of the Dave Matthews Band call into this voicemail and share a fun story or share an answer to whatever question I may be asking on social media. So look for those. I've implemented both of those things into my show, but I've also got a new opening. Just opener. It's a video and audio. So again, if you're watching this, you will be able to see the video that goes with the new season 5. If you're listening to this on podcast, you'll just hear the audio, which is fine. Whatever. There's no wrong or right. But I will also be sharing that on the socials. I've done a few teases to show the beginning and the end, but I haven't shared the whole thing until now. So guys, I'm so excited. I'm so thankful for you. I'm so in love with this band, but even more, so in love with the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Stay tuned, guys. Season 5 is up next. But in the meantime, whether you're listening to this 4 hours before it lands, or if you're listening to this and season 5 is just the next click over and you're about to listen to it, guys, thank you. I love you. Please if you need anything, just email me, call me, all the things. I'm just so thankful. I'm so grateful. I'm so humbled to be here and for this to have been working. I'm just a mom of 4. I'm a wife to an amazing man, and I'm a nurse. And I'm just so thankful that I started something on a whim, out of a need, at a really low point in my life. And it has done nothing but exactly what I needed it to, which was to show me that there is love and to show others that there is love and to be a reminder that that is what the world needs more of. So thank you guys. And until the next episode, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band. Bye.